Sarah, and I'm here to help you navigate new shores of learning opportunities so that you'll learn, love, and live English. We all have experiences with group projects. I dare say that a group project is not in itself the most difficult thing to do. But what's really challenging is working with your classmates. Let's take this scenario as an example.
Joseph, the group leader, assigned each member a task. Each task is crucial to complete the school project. So he regularly asks the members of their progress. At the end of the week, he gathers the members to a meeting. And to his horror, he finds out that he is the only one who made a significant progress with his task, while others have not accomplished anything yet. To add salt to the injury, they only have 2 weeks to beat the deadline. Is this scenario familiar to you? There are different ways Joseph may respond to this circumstance. 1. Despite being so angry and frustrated at his members' failure, Joseph decides just to ignore his feelings. Because he doesn't want to deal with his group members anymore, he chooses to do all the tasks to complete the project. 2. Joseph makes a cryptic Facebook post. He wrote about being overly bothered by school parasites. 3. Joseph gives his group members another chance to accomplish their tasks. He makes a deal with them that should someone in the group fail to turn in his or her task next week, he will tell the teacher that the group does not work cohesively and will ask permission to leave the group so he can do the entire project all by himself. And 4. Joseph shouts at his group members. He taunts them for being incompetent and irresponsible, then threatens to leave the group and do the project all by himself. If you were Joseph, which of these 4 will be your response?
But before you reveal to me your choice, let's identify first the communication style that each response represents. To help you in identifying, let me give you brief descriptions of the 4 communication styles.
The 4 communication styles are passive communication, aggressive communication, passive-aggressive communication, and assertive communication. Passive communication is a style in which individuals have developed a pattern of avoiding expressing their opinions or feelings, protecting their rights, and identifying and meeting their needs. As a result, passive individuals do not respond overtly to hurtful or anger-inducing situations. Aggressive communication is a style in which individuals express their feelings and opinions and advocate for their needs in a way that violates the rights of others. Passive-aggressive communication is a style in which individuals appear passive on the surface, but are really acting out anger in a subtle, indirect, or behind-the-scenes way. Assertive communication is a style in which individuals clearly state their opinions and feelings and firmly advocate for their rights and needs without violating the rights of others.
Now that you know what each communication style means, you can already try to identify the communication style that each response represents.
Let's start with this. Despite being so angry and frustrated at his members' failure, Joseph decides just to ignore his feelings. Because he doesn't want to deal with his group members anymore, he chooses to do all the tasks to complete the project. What is the communication style? A. Passive. B. Aggressive. C. Passive-aggressive. D. Assertive. Good job! This is a passive communication style. In this response, Joseph does not actively express his opinion and emotion, even though the situation has already angered him. Aside from that, Joseph is so passive that he does not stand up for his own right, and even decides to do the project all by himself. All his group members will get the same grade, even when he alone does all the hard work. Here's another. Joseph makes a cryptic Facebook post. He wrote about being overly bothered by school parasites. What is the communication style? A. Passive. B. Aggressive. C. Passive-aggressive. Or D. Assertive. Did I hear you say letter C? Yes, this is a passive-aggressive communication style. In this response, Joseph seems to have ignored the difficult situation with his groupmates. However, he expressed his violent anger through a cryptic Facebook post, labeling the members as school parasites. Instead of Joseph dealing personally and talking to them to solve the problem, he posts it online for everyone to speculate. And maybe this can even start an online feud. Next scenario. Joseph gives his group members another chance to accomplish their tasks. He makes a deal with them that should someone in the group fails to turn in his or her task next week, he will tell the teacher that the group does not work cohesively and will ask permission to leave the group so he can do the entire project all by himself. What is the communication style? A. Passive. B. Aggressive. C. Passive-aggressive. Or D. Assertive. Wow, you're nailing it! This is indeed an assertive communication style. In this response, Joseph clearly shows his disappointment with his group members, but he does it respectfully and even makes a deal with them. Which means the answer in this scenario, Joseph shouts at his group members. He taunts them for being incompetent and irresponsible, then threatens to leave the group and do the project all by himself. Is an aggressive communication style. In this response, Joseph bursts out in anger and utters hurtful words to his group members. This communication style can be hostile and provoking.
So now, let's go back to the main question. If you were Joseph, which of these four will be your response? Passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, or assertive? If you have chosen assertive response, that's a good choice. Unfortunately, that is not always our default communication style. I have to say that an assertive communication style is not an attitude, but a skill. That's why this episode is coming to your rescue. You will learn how to be skilled at being assertive through this most essential learning competency. Formulate statements of assertion. Before we formulate statements of assertion, let's define what an assertion is. An assertion is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made by a group of people. It is a statement of assertion that is made Assertion is a clear statement of one's opinions and feelings. A firm advocacy for one's own rights and needs without violating the rights of others. Perhaps you wonder how you will express your opinions and feelings clearly, firmly, and respectfully. And what exactly are the remarks that you should utter? Worry no more, because I've got you covered.
The 4 types of assertion are basic assertion, escalating assertion, emphatic assertion, and I-language assertion. Basic assertion. This is a simple expression of standing up for personal rights, beliefs, feelings, or opinions. Example: excuse me, this product is defective. Escalating assertion. This occurs when the other person fails to respond to your basic assertion and continues to violate your rights. You gradually escalate the assertion and become increasingly firm. It may even include the mention of some type of resulting action on your part, made only after several basic assertive statements. Example: if I don't receive the replacement for your defective ring light by 5 p.m. tomorrow, I'll be forced to call the online customer service to ban you from their sellers list. Emphatic assertion. This is a recognition of other person's situation or feelings, followed by another statement standing up for the speaker's rights. Example: I know you're feeling angry and frustrated while you wait for a response, but rest assured, we are addressing your concern, and the best we can do is give you an estimate of how long the replacement will take. Lastly, I-language assertion. This is especially useful for expressing negative feelings. It follows this structure. When you describe the behavior, I feel or become, describe how the behavior concretely affects you. I'd prefer, describe what you want. Example: when your product didn't adhere to the specifications in your advertisement, I couldn't use it as it was deemed useless. I felt deceived and shortchanged. Next time, I'd like you to show better service and honesty to your paying customers.
Now that you have seen the sentence structure and vocabulary for each type of assertion, this means we can do a practice quiz. Ready? I bet you are! Grab your pen and paper. In this practice quiz, we are going back to Joseph's situation.
Remember that earlier, you chose this assertive response. Joseph gives his group members another chance to accomplish their tasks. He makes a deal with them that should someone in the group fails to turn in his or her task next week, he will tell the teacher that the group does not work cohesively and will ask permission to leave the group, so he can do the entire project all by himself. What type of assertion did Joseph make? A. Basic assertion. B. Escalating assertion. C. Emphatic assertion. Or D. I-language assertion. Oops, this is not an emphatic assertion. Emphatic assertion, as the name implies, comes first with a statement expressing empathy to other person's feeling, followed by another statement expressing your own opinion and belief. You still have 3 options left. Nice try, but this is not an I-language assertion. Remember, I-language assertion is composed of a statement describing the other person's behavior that you dislike. Next, a statement describing the effects of that behavior on you. And lastly, a statement of what you want to happen. That gives you 2 more options left. don't be discouraged. Making mistakes is a part of learning. Now, what's your choice? Wow, I can see fireworks with that answer. This is indeed an escalating assertion. Joseph asserts that if someone in the group fails to accomplish a task the next week, this will force him to do a certain action, and that is to tell the teacher the whole situation, so he can be allowed to work alone on the project.
For this next practice quiz, let's put this escalating assertion into actual words. If you were Joseph, what would you exactly say to your group members?
Complete this sentence prompt to formulate an escalating assertion based on Joseph's situation. You're free to add an extra sentence. Time's up. Please read what you wrote. That's a great escalating assertion. Now, let me read a sample answer. If you don't accomplish your tasks next week, I will tell the teacher that despite giving you a second chance, you did not do your part. Then, I will ask permission to leave the group and do the project myself. Don't worry if your assertion is not the same as this one. Remember, there are many ways to express the same idea, and that's the beauty of language. Let's assume that Joseph also made an I-language assertion about the situation that happened to him and his groupmates. Complete this sentence prompt to formulate an I-language assertion based on Joseph's situation. Time's up. Let's hear what you have written on your notes. That's a well-written I-language assertion. Now, let me read a sample answer. When you failed to accomplish the task assigned to you, I feel disrespected because you chose me as the group leader, but you don't cooperate with me. I'd prefer that you submit the task I assigned you to do next week.
We're done with the practice quiz. I can feel your confidence rising as you are learning the skill of formulating statements of assertion. Out of the 4 communication styles, assertive communication style is the healthiest way to communicate. But, as I said earlier, being assertive is not an attitude, it is a skill.
To become assertive means we must seek a balance. Assertiveness is actually being passive and aggressive in healthy doses. If we don't seek the right balance, we will either be passive, aggressive, or passive-aggressive. Assertiveness is the ability to speak up for yourself in a way that is honest and respectful. It tries to address both your needs and the needs of others. Let's look at this passive response. Despite being so angry and frustrated at his members' failure, Joseph decides just to ignore his feelings. Because he doesn't want to deal with his group members anymore, he chooses to do all the tasks to complete the project. What do you think is the problem with this passive response? I agree with you. This passive response will only make Joseph feel taken advantage by his group members. Because Joseph does not face a conflict, his groupmates will get the same credit he has, though he is the only one who completes the project.
Have you been passive before? What are the reasons we become passive? Yes, I feel you, my dear learners. When we want to please others, or we are afraid to hurt their feelings, we become timid. Also, when we are sensitive with criticisms, or we are worried about what other people will say, these make us passive.
Let's study this aggressive response. Joseph shouts at his group members. He taunts them for being incompetent and irresponsible, then threatens to leave the group and do the project all by himself. What do you think is the problem with this aggressive response? Certainly, anger does not solve anything. There might be reasons why the group members failed at their tasks, so shouting at or taunting them only makes them feel disrespected. This is also not good for Joseph because they may dislike and disrespect him too.
Have you been aggressive before? What are the reasons we become aggressive? My thoughts exactly. When we become afraid that people won't cooperate with us or won't meet our needs, we may end up being aggressive with them. When we think we are right and others are wrong and we don't listen to them anymore, we end up being rude.
Let's examine this passive-aggressive response. Joseph makes a cryptic Facebook post. He wrote about being overly bothered by school parasites. What do you think is the problem with this passive-aggressive response?
Absolutely. The problem about the cryptic Facebook post is it only breeds gossips and speculations. It may invite harsh comments or bashing from others who are not even involved in the first place. Instead of working out the problem personally, Joseph talks behind someone's back. Have you been passive-aggressive before? What are the reasons we become passive-aggressive? You're so right. When we want to oppose others, but we want to do it indirectly or secretly, that's when we become passive-aggressive. Do you remember the activity you did in grade 8 Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao? This activity asks you to write your personal anecdote about experiencing a communication barrier with another person. With today's lesson, can you suggest ways to solve a communication barrier with another person? You nailed it. You're right. Be assertive. Make assertions. Why do you think being assertive and making assertions solve a communication barrier? Good job! Your answer shows you learned a lot from this lesson. Being assertive and making assertions will help you to express your opinions and feelings clearly, firmly, and respectfully, and will help you to move towards solutions that address both your needs and the other person's. Like any other good things, this episode is coming to its end. My hope is that through this episode, you have developed the most essential learning competency, which is formulating statements of assertion. Also, that through this episode, you appreciated the value of assertiveness as an essential skill in real-world situations. This is Miss Lyra, leaving you with this mantra: learn, love, and live English. Keep safe and see you on the next one.
ay maaalala. May pag-asa pa, kahit ba nasa bahay ka. Isama na ang buong pamilya, pag-aaral